Hello. So I decided I wanted to make a skirt to wear to church for Christmas. Initially, my plan was to make a Christmas dress, but just because of my poor time management and everything, that's not going to happen. So my new goal is to make a skirt. My plan right now is for it to be a circle skirt that goes to the knee with a waistband and an invisible zipper in the back. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, here are the materials that I'm starting out with. I think this is everything I need. I'll have my fashion fabric for the outside, my lining fabric, and then a little bit of interfacing for the waistband bit, zipper, thread, and then some ribbon because I think I want to do a tulle layer to give it some volume, and that'll be the edging of that if that's what I end up doing. And I think that's what I need. If not, I'll swing by the craft store again. But yeah, let's get going. So then I grabbed the closest thing to my craft room that was a long, hard, portable surface, which in this case was an old TV box, to measure and cut my fabric. Easiest way to do circles, of course, is to fold your fabric in half because then you have half the measuring and half the cuts to do. And then rinse and repeat, do that for my lining fabric as well. And I like to pin just inside of the circle so that when I cut it, it'll all stay stable and together. Tulle is perhaps my least favorite fabric that I have ever worked with in my life thus far. But I knew that this circle skirt wasn't just going to have volume on its own, so I went to work trying to make my very first petticoat, which I knew I wasn't making totally properly, but I was hoping it would do the trick. Then I got to work pinning the side seams together for both layers so that they would become one full circle. And if I had had the foresight, this is when I would have added in pockets, but that did not occur to me at this moment, and so this skirt does not have pockets, unfortunately. I do not have a serger, and so for all of my lining pieces, I simply did like a running stitch and then an overlocking zigzag stitch around all the edges so it wouldn't fray. So I asked my young son, who was in the room with me, to get some footage of me attaching the interfacing to the waistband, and this is what he got. Thanks, kiddo. So something I'm trying to figure out right now is the waistband portion, because I've never tried to do anything like this before. I've watched some YouTube tutorials and they all vary just differently enough to where I'm not quite sure how to approach it. One that I really liked, it explained it very well, but it had closures at the top, like some hook and eye sort of things. I didn't really want to do that. I want to do a zipper all the way to the top, I think. Anyway, I think I'm just going to jump into this waistband portion, not really knowing what I'm doing, but we'll see how it goes. So I just finished making it. I got a piece of my fashion fabric, got the interfacing, cut it to my waist dimensions, folded it in half and ironed it. I'm guessing this is the right order to be doing all of this in, because now I'm guessing that I'll take one of the edges and sew it onto the top of the dress, right? And then I'll just do all the closures in the back as if it was all one piece, right? Just this part will be stiffer, I think. Anyway, that's my thinking at this point. All right, so here's a problem I'm facing. For the invisible zipper, putting an invisible zipper in with a lining in it as well, I'm having a hard time knowing what to do and learning how to do it, because there's plenty of videos out there on YouTube that I have found that are very helpful, but they're all slightly different, and for some reason I'm having a really hard time wrapping my head around how a zipper works with a lining. I'm having a hard time grasping the concept in my mind's eye, and so I'm just gonna try and figure out something that works for me, works in my head, and run with that and see what happens. Alright, so I'm going to attach the waistband to the dress. And I'm gonna start in the middle just because I did do a stay stitch on the top of the skirt, but I think it might have stretched out a little bit because it's a knit fabric, and so I'm gonna start in the middle here and attach the waistband to the dress and just treat it as one piece, I think is how I'm gonna go about it. We'll see how it goes. And I'm gonna start over because I just remembered that I just watched a video from Evelyn Wood who suggested that you want the interfacing on the top. So I'm gonna have to put the pins on top. And why you want that is because the way it feeds through the machine, the teeth will pull harder and the pressure of the foot will push the fabric and you know, create bunches and whatever. And so you want the most stable fabric on top so that it will all stay as consistent as possible and stay lined up as you intended. So I'm glad I remembered that fairly early on before I pinned the entire thing, that I want, oh wait, I want the pins to go this way because I'll start at that end. Okay, I think I've got it together now. There we go. I think I'm doing the pins right now. Okay. And it's always kind of tricky pinning a straight line to a curved line, right? This one isn't too bad because it is stretchy, but that also is a problem because I don't want it to stretch. So it always creates an extra hurdle to jump over. And I'm trying to pin it close to like where the sewing line is, I think, because then I hope I'm actually getting the right circumference and that's where I actually want it to be. I don't know what I'm doing. We'll see how this goes. Man, that's awesome. That's exactly where I wanted it, I guess. I thought this would stretch because it's knit, but hey, that stay stitch really works.
Important lesson, boys and girls, always iron your seams open, because that will take any project from good to great, and it also makes it easier to work with. But then ironing that seam open messed up the line on my interfacing, and so I had to do that again, but no big deal. And then apparently for an invisible zipper to actually be invisible, you are supposed to iron it out first and open it up more, which makes a lot of sense. And I would have known that if I had ever read the instructions thoroughly. And then I don't know what the real proper way is to put a lining into a skirt. I'm sure there are many options that work just fine. And the route that I decided to go was to pin it to the top of the skirt on the inside so that the waist part could then be folded over in half and cover up those raw edges. And then once that was pinned in place, I started trying to figure out the zipper and how that would work. Zippers do not come naturally to me. I mess them up all the time and it takes me quite a while to always figure out how to insert them. I get very disoriented. Because I'm not very confident with zippers, sometimes I like to go in and put just a long running stitch or something to keep it in place. First, so I can actually see it and test it to make sure it is where it needs to be, but also so it doesn't shift around or move when I am actually trying to put it on for real.
Alright, so here we are with the dress inside out. I just finished sewing on the zipper, and here's the dealio. I know for a fact I did many of these steps out of order or didn't do them correctly, but you know what? I'm just doing what makes sense in my head, and so many of the tutorials I watched, I just couldn't click. Like, nearly, well, actually, I think every single one of them finished up the bottom part first before putting in the zipper. But for some reason, I just couldn't wrap my head around making that happen. And so I'm going to do that after. I've got the zipper in, and now I'll go in and close up the back. I'll figure out how to do that somehow. So this top part, I sewed all the way up to the top of the zipper. And now what I think I'm going to do is, this is hard to do one-handed, tuck this or cut this, right? I saw one video that they just tucked it. Pull that over, oh my gosh, and then tuck it over. Now, I know that is going to create some problems as far as finishing goes for this bottom part. This is going to look rough, and I don't really know what I'm going to do as far as the lining, because I could not wrap my head around getting this done as well. And I just don't even want to try it with this skirt. I'll learn for the next project. And so I think I'm just going to hand stitch this down eventually. I'm just figuring this one out as I go. And then hopefully as I become a better sewer, better seamstress, I'll be able to figure things out and make them look more professional and more better. But because this is a knit and it's not going to fray, I genuinely might just fold it over and sew it and not even worry about it. We'll see, but that's where I'm at right now. Also, this invisible zipper did not go on nearly as invisible as I wanted it to, and as I thought it would. I thought I did a better job, but guess not. But I used an invisible zipper foot for the first time. It came in a pack of 3, and I picked the one that I thought would be the best. A couple things that I think could have helped is maybe a different foot. I don't know about that one, but I tried to iron the zipper as open as possible before doing this, but I actually think I could have done it more so, and therefore the teeth would have been folded over more and the needle could have gotten closer. I think that could have helped a lot. And also a lot of videos that I saw ironed the fabric open first. I didn't do that because I didn't finish the bottom first or anything, and so I didn't want to try to do that. I rather just line up the edge and sew it, and so maybe that would have helped. I don't know. My guess is ironing it open more would have helped it get closer. So it's not bad. I mean, it matches the fabric, so I don't really care if it's seen, especially since this is my first skirt. But I kind of was hoping and wishing that would be a little more invisible, but is what it is.
While doing this project, I learned that with circles, you want to actually let them hang for a couple of days before trimming the bottoms because the parts on a bias will lengthen and relax. So I let this hang for a couple of days before trimming it, and then when it was time to trim it, my guide was an outlet on the wall. It was just the right length.
All right, so here's where I'm at. I just finished stitching in the ditch here on the front to pin down the back of the waistband. I am leaving it just undone like that because it is a knit and it's not going to fray, and I don't really care. So we're going to leave it like that. So here's what I'm doing here. Just bringing this over, tucking it under. I've taken the top of the waistband. I'll make sure it's all nice and flush. I'm going to tuck that over. I left a bunch of excess thread from this, and I'm just going to continue using that to hand stitch to finish this off because I can't wrap my brain around making it all happen at the same time. So all these pins making it bulky and stuff, getting it in the machine, I just didn't want to bother. So I'm going to finish off both sides by hand, and then I think the only two things left to do after that are finishing up, closing up the back, and then the hems. And that's it. Then this should be done. Woohoo!
So what ended up happening for the hems was the outside one, I decided to cut corners and I just left it be because it is a knit and isn't going to fray. The lining layer, I just left it with the overlock stitch that I did as if it had just been done with a serger because it was doing the trick and nothing was fraying, so I left it like that. I did end up making the petticoat, and I did line the bottom of it with the ribbon that matched the color, and I thought it ended up looking pretty cool. The back ended up looking about how you would expect. It all closed up nicely, nothing catches on each other, and from the outside you can't tell, but on the inside it does look homemade.
So I know this is not how you are supposed to make a petticoat. I'm sure there's supposed to be layers, and there actually should be a whole lot more tulle in this, but I still love how it turned out. Putting that ribbon on the bottom just gives it such a cool effect, and it does give my dress a little bit more volume, and if nothing else, it's just fun. Next time I do one, I'll do better, but yeah, that's how the petticoat ended up looking like.
And it was done. I love it. There are definitely some things that I would change and I'm definitely going to learn from. Probably the biggest one is going to be the waistband. It is a little too tight, and because of the interfacing it won't stretch or get any bigger, so it has to sit way higher up on my waist than I want it to, and kind of gives me a weird shape because of that, but it's okay. So I'm going to have fun wearing this dress. I learned a lot from doing it that I'm going to apply to the next dress that I do. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Bye!